Okay. Uh, Discord. Uh, let's hope everything is working. I am still on my old internet connection situation. I hope next week I can get myself fiber here in the new apartment. As you guys can see, I am in the new apartment. I'll quickly give you guys a little overview of what you can see over here. Studio room. I can now walk around, I can move and whatnot. I have the freedom to do things as opposed to the other place where I was like right in between the couch and everything. So it's nice that I now have a bit of a bigger place. I'll do a proper tour, as I said in my video that I posted today. I'll do a proper tour later. The plan is for my father to come here later this month, and we're going to build some acoustic panels. So then I'm also going to fix all of the acoustics because they're not the best here. I was hoping they would be better just by the layout of the room and the fact that the desk is now in the middle. And like, as far as I know, that should be good for acoustics. It also, this room comes with a diffuser built in, as you can see. Probably the best over here, right? It has all of the, it's a completely wooden wall here, and then there's like small things over here which kind of should act a little bit like a diffuser. It's obviously not like an actual diffuser, but I just found it funny that when I was eyeing this apartment, that I found this. I say that I was eyeing this apartment. I have already lived here in this apartment, so I'm back in the apartment that I used to film in back when I was in this situation. Let me quickly find that. And I can just go to my channel and do some older content and you guys will see. I've made a lot of videos in that year. Just scrolling down through it. This is still, that's the 10K subscriber thing. I think here, yes, when I was in this, okay, so that's reset the scrolling, dragging it here, so that's not great. But yeah, any of these, this is the old cameras, that is not the best looking. But here, yeah, here we have the new camera. This was filmed in the same apartment, but in a different room. So this room, as well as the room that I'm currently sleeping in, used to be occupied by two other students back when I was living here, and back when I was also still a student. So now I actually have the whole apartment to myself. I might do like a tour of the whole apartment or just like a little studio tour or whatever it ends up being. But that is going to come out once once we get like the panels up and all of that stuff. My idea is to create a big panel on the back wall. The back wall, by the way, is completely covered in cork, which is also interesting. It has like, just like the wooden, it's like completely filled up. There's like an actual wall behind it, of course. And then it is completely covered in cork. And also the cork has like a little bit of depth to it. So that might also do a little bit of diffusion. But of course, having an actual panel, especially behind the speakers, will help tremendously with just actually absorbing sound and not reflecting that. So either two smaller panels behind each of the speakers. I might also move my speakers a little bit more apart than when they are now. There's other things that I need to do. I need to set up a better system for my camera. Currently the camera is mounted to a closet that is standing next to the desk. So the stand that is supposed to stand up is currently just standing sideways, which isn't great. That might not be the best thing for the closet itself. It might like slightly damage the closet, but I hope that once my father comes here and we're doing all of the chores and whatnot, because I don't have any tools here, of course. I don't have like a a drill or anything that I can make stuff and whatnot. And I don't want to really purchase them. If my father wants to come here anyway and we want to do some chores, then he can just take one. So I hope then at the desk, because the desk that I'm currently using came with the apartment, but it's too thick for the standard for my camera. It barely fitted the standard for my main monitor. And even that is a little bit more wobbly than I would like, but I was able to get it to at least be decent enough. So I just want to make like a little plank, I guess, behind the desk that I can mount the camera to that. And then there's, of course, a few other things that I would want to end up doing. As I said, the acoustic panels, either one large one or two smaller ones behind the speakers, behind there. And then probably three or four at the back wall. And that's probably going to be it for now. Or at least for the first round, and then I would need to see how that would actually work acoustically. And then my plan is to, after having done that, to get myself some room correction as well. Something like, I don't know, SonarWorks or the stuff from IQ Multimedia that is like one of those actual boxes that you can put in between your interface and your output, so that it actually, how would you say, it actually integrates the DPS in the box itself, and you can have that box run in between your audio interface and the speakers themselves. That would be really nice. That would be really nice, because then I would be able to not have to worry about the routing, because I believe SonarWorks inserts itself inside of your signal chain in between whatever DAW that you're using and then like whatever output that you're using. But I already have something in there, which is this thing over here, Voicemeeter Potato. If anybody is experienced with room correction and like the actual software room correction and using Voicemeeter, they might be able to correct me on here. But I'm not sure entirely how it's going to work if I need to send, say, something from this to the room correction and then to my speakers, if that would cause any issues, if that would be too complex. But I've heard that there's some like physical box thing that you can use, and that would be hardware, and that would be, you can just place that on your desk and just route the cable through it. The negative behind that would be that maybe it would correct everything, even things that I don't want to be corrected. Say that I'm like watching a YouTube video or something. I don't necessarily want to have room correction on that maybe. But that, again, that would be something that I would need to figure out. I also, as you can hear, this is quite a little bit more echoey. And currently my microphone isn't also isn't in the best spot. It's like 50 centimeters from my mouth. Which ideally I would try to get it closer, but that's really hard given where the mounting for that is as well. Again, that mounting system doesn't come around the desk, because the desk is this thick, so there's no real mounting system for like a microphone that would fit around that, because the table is much bigger than any mounting system is designed for, like much thicker, I guess. So it's again held up on the closet on the side here. The other alternative to that would be for at least the microphone, for the camera obviously not, but for the microphone I could put a little table next to me over here and then mount the mic to that. The second thing why it is the case is that I don't like having my microphone in view. I think it looks a little bit strange to have the microphone in view. Of course, everybody knows that there's going to be a microphone if you're speaking in a room, then that has to be recorded, of course. But I like the clean look that you get of just me sitting in the room without a microphone, and kind of it's not breaking the immersion, right? It's knowing how the sausage is made kind of deal. So yeah, those are the plans, but for today we're going to go into some feedback. How's the acoustics? I think that I've answered that. Also, welcome everybody. Bo, Espressivo, I guess that's Italian. NC, welcome. Can you show stuff on Serum? I don't know what you mean by that. It depends on what kind of stuff, I guess. And Roll, welcome as well. And Tisla, how are you doing? Welcome. I can hear that the room is bigger than before from the mic and that you use the same mic. Yes, yes. The room treatment definitely needs to happen here. The other thing is curtains. Right now there's no curtains here, so there's a big window there that is reflecting a lot of stuff as well. But this apartment didn't come with a curtain rod. It came with one of those systems where you can have two ropes and then you can open close by moving like that. But that means that you need like the small hooks, and the one curtain that I have only works, I guess, nicely at least with curtain rods. So I would need to get some curtain rods, and that is also on the list of things that I would want to do once my father comes here. It means that for about a month the quality isn't going to be as high as I would have wanted, and what that really is going to lead to is that I would need to at least postpone the mixing of my album up until somewhere in October. Probably towards the end of October, because once you do the room treatment you have to get used to the sound of your new room, and then from there you just need to learn how it's going to sound and how music is supposed to sound. So even if I say at the end of the month get this room treated and get all of the things done that I want to do in order for this room to sound the best that it can, I still need to then get comfortable with the new room. So that may push back my album a little bit in terms of timing, but I still hope that I can finish it before the end of the year. That is the ultimate goal. The other thing that is going to depend on that is how it's going to go with the visuals, because I remember the last time I did an album, it took me a long time to create the visuals for it, to create the music video. But now that I have done that once, I have all of the systems in place, I have all of the code in place that I use to convert from keyframes to, or from Ableton automation to keyframes, so I can just write in the visuals that I want inside of Ableton alongside of the track, and I can write in BPM as opposed to in frames per second, which is what visuals are. And then I have the software to automatically translate that, so that should be less of an issue now. Anyway, I think that's everything that I wanted to say out of the way. But this is still an upgrade from before. Yeah, just from the creative side, this is a massive upgrade still. Right, there's... it's now like an actual creative space. You can see the thing behind me on the wall. There's some nice art in here. I have a nice spot for my incense, which I love. And it's just a much nicer space here. Also, I have much more room on my desk. Currently, my laptop is still standing on my desk because I thought I would need to record my camera with my laptop as opposed to with my desktop because of the distance between the camera and my computer and the cable not reaching. But I was able to find a solution for that by just lowering the camera a slight bit, and instead of using the input in the front for my cam link, I use the input in the back. So yeah, it's a lot better. It's also taller, yes. The room isn't so sloped and close to my head, the roof, I guess, so that is nice. Great things take time. It's going to take some time, of course, and I just have to get used to it. I also have to decide exactly what and how I want to do things. And yeah, that is just something that I would need to check out. Amen. Thank you for sharing. Have a nice day. Thank you. All right. I see a lot of tracks in here already. I think there's a little bit of a backlog because the last feedback stream, let me actually check this because I'm not entirely sure if any of this looks like residue from an actual feedback stream. So I think the next one that we have to play is this one, but I'm just quickly going to check when I had my last feedback stream. If it's the 8th, it was actually the 4th. Oh yeah, the 4th of August. Yes, yes. So this was submitted the 16th, and this is going to be the first track that we're going to listen to. I also saw that we have the second track over here. For those that don't know, Patreons get early, they skip the queue. So we're going to go through the queue 1, 2, and I think there was another one, 3 over here. Yes. So any patrons, they get to skip the queue in the feedback stream. So we'll start off with The Fourth Dimension here by Tannen Folletti. That's like half German, half Italian, that name. The track has not been found. Okay. So the track has been removed. That can be the case, of course, because this was submitted a while ago. I haven't done a feedback stream, as I said, since the 4th. So almost a month ago. It's actually been a month since I've streamed, almost, I guess, in general, because I was going on vacation and then I was busy moving and now I'm here. So that means that we're going to move on to this one over here by Bo. New track, somewhere in mid to late production stage. I probably want to add some more elements, maybe some glitches to make it fit the title a bit better. Looking forward to your feedback. Glitch Master 4000. I'm assuming that there should be some glitch in here, yes. Why is this not working? Give me a second, guys. I hope you guys can hear that. It's at least going out. Input is voice meter B3. Why? You guys can hear it, but it's not showing up on the meters. It's not showing, it's not resampling inside of my Ableton. Wait a second, it needs to be B2, right? No, because B2 also has my microphone in there. Then it needs to be B1, I guess. I don't know why this would change from B3 or from B1 to B3. As I said, it has been a while, so maybe I've changed something at some point, but I'll play it again. Ooh. There we are. Now it's showing. I'm happy to stick with the normal queue. Let's get a good mix of tracks in. Oh, yeah, I've already started. I know there's some patrons that don't actually want to use that feature, they just want to support me.
The Glitch Master 4000 is online.
Feel like the pads / atmospheres are a little bit too loud, especially in the first part of the drop. There was a little bit too much of it. You said you were still in the production stage, so it's not. I can sit here and say like some of the elements still need to be balanced out more, but I guess that is something that you'll tackle later. Like this atmosphere over here that zooms in and out is overtaking a little bit too much, for example. Not really a fan of what you're I would say what you're doing in the fill, but what you're lacking in the fill. The fill seems a little bit empty, and I had the same idea with the last one. Like the flow is obviously coming back into the next segment of the drop, but there's not really anything that is like, maybe like a drum fill or some interesting synth or something like that. Here, I would definitely have a fill there, so that indication of change is there, or continue the drums and the ideas up until the break there, because it feels a bit strange that it switches just halfway in between there. Who are we listening to now? We're listening to both. Glitch Master 4000. Build-up is lacking a little bit in actual rising. Something that I've started to do a lot while I'm currently working on my second album is adding sub-bass risers to my builds, because they add a lot of stability in the lower frequencies with the rise. But also the mid-range with the rising is nice. You have like high-end stuff there. I guess this was like a double build-up kind of thing, but still, the idea holds that the build-up should have rising energy throughout the majority of the frequency spectrum. Obviously, towards the end, it is okay that the very lowest frequencies don't have that, because then even your sub-riser is going into like the mid-range. But it should at least have some thing that indicates like, oh, we're going from very low and then it goes up. That would be would make the build-up more powerful, I guess, is the right way to say it. Oh, you changed rooms? Yes, I changed apartments, in fact. Here again, this point here, you would need to have a fill there, especially if you're changing energy levels. It is really important that that fill is there, because that is the fill is the actual indication of the change, right? It's like, oh, something is about to happen, and then the drums get cut out and the kick and bass is playing solo. So then that comes back in, and we are like, okay, this is definitely a different level of energy. Now we can expect, I don't know, a new track to come in. In this case, that would be where a new track would be mixed in by the DJ. The other things could happen. You get different elements. You can maybe, I don't know, start doing some different modulations on some existing elements already. Whatever you want to do, it is most often the case that you want to have an indication of that thing happening before it actually happens. And the drop itself, right, is the point where that starts happening. So the fill right before it is the indication of that thing that is about to happen. Nice, new studio. You should make a studio tour when you show your new location. I will, once the studio actually gets a little bit closer to where I want it to be, then there will be a studio tour for sure. But there's many more things that I want to do. And of course this month, for those that don't know yet, I am posting a video every day. So I already prepared all of the videos for September, at least the concepts for them. I haven't recorded them or scripted them or anything like that yet. But the whole month of September, I will be posting a video every single day explaining a simple patch in terms of sound design. I'm calling it Sound Design September. I posted about this on my channel before, so if you guys want to read the post, it's there. I'll just post this, put this over here. You can see it like, today I'm starting a new series called Sound Design September. It will be a tutorial explaining a certain patch every day for the whole month. That is the basic concept. So for the whole month of September, I already have basically all of the content that I want to make prepared. And then the studio tour is going to come somewhere October-ish. That also gives me the time, of course, to actually prepare the studio and make it the room that I want it to be. One of the things that I've realized once I hung up the thing that is behind me is that thing probably has to go whenever I hook up like actual panels. Because there's not really a space here. Over there there's the door, and over there there's the window. What I would like to do is get a few more of these things and then cut them up and put them over the panels, so that the panels themselves has some artwork on them. I think that would be a really cool idea, because most of the panels that you see in studios are just one flat color, and I think it would be cooler if I get some like actually cool looking artworks on there. That would make it, I guess, a little bit more creative. It looks just a little bit nicer, I guess. Anyway, we have one more patron here. That is Simultar Music, who last time played a very nice track, so hopefully this one is also nice. This is 153 BPM in G sharp, Spaghettification. That sounds like a very strange process. It's the process that happens when you fall into a black hole. At least that's one place where that term is used. For a track called Glitchmaster, I expected to hear more stuttery glitchiness. Yeah, I agree. And I think that is also something that he said in the post here. He wants to add more glitches to it. That is something that you can also use in the fill. I talked about the fill lacking certain elements. You can add more glitchy elements to a fill, kind of in the same way that a drum fill would work, right? In that drum fills as well as glitchy sounds tend to take up everything. In the sense that if you have a drum fill in a fill, it tends to be the case that all other elements kind of pause, and then the drum fill comes through, and then you have then it like transitions, I guess, into the thing that you actually want to transition in. A glitchy idea can also do that. Overall, another thing that you could do is just glitch up the synths that you have now and actually make the synths throughout the whole drop a little bit glitchier, but you tend to hear more glitchiness, I guess, in the fills of a sidetrans track rather than really in the synths themselves that are playing in the actual drops. So there's that. Either way, we're moving on, as I said, to Spaghettification.
Image
Let's
of
have
the
a
black
listen.
hole does not appear to encompass us at all.
I said it right. I call it being a black hole.
Black hole, its image only takes up 15% of our field of view. The rest
Is it true that there's some reverb when you speak right now in the studio? Yes, there's a lot of it.
This is again due to the phenomenon of aberration. Now that we move extremely fast, the light that arrives from the sides and even from behind seems to come from the front. Our field of view is contracted ahead of us.
I like the low frequency wobble. You probably want to filter it out for the very low frequencies. Like you don't really need it at like 20, 30 hertz, this kind of stuff.
From now on,
If we try to send a signal to the outside, it will never reach its destination. The low
below them.
Little bit of issues here with the vocal.
Destined to fall downwards with no hope of ever coming out.
Issues in the sense that the vocal isn't really coming through as much as you would want.
But for the moment, everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine.
Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine. Everything is fine.
Everything.
It is after another 30 seconds, just before reaching the center of the black hole, that in the blink of an eye, we feel an incredibly powerful force that stretches us until dislocating our body.
I like how clear the vocals are in the drop itself.
Called spaghettification. Our head being further from the center than our feet, the difference in pull is such that our body is very quick to torn apart.
I feel like this track is a little bit too loud in terms of mastering. Like tone it down half a dB, maybe a dB on the mastering limiter, and this would be, I think, better. Because now it feels almost too squished together from time to time. Here the vocals aren't coming through,
As if we were reaching
which is understandable given the intensity of this part of the track and this track in general.
of an entirely black planet, while a circle of light intensifies all around us. The shredded remains of our body reach the center of the black hole.
I felt like there the drop started in a strange place structurally. It didn't. It felt like it needed 4 bars for that effect, that last effect where the sub bubble came back in, and it didn't feel like that was the case. So either you're doing something strangely there structurally,
entirely black planet.
or the structure works and the way that you wrote within that structure doesn't convey the structure
Around us.
properly, I guess.
Tenth of a second later. The black hole.
It sounded there like you had a little bit of resonance on the high pass that is doing the transition. And I would generally recommend against that, because when it moves through the sub bass and the lower frequency, you get a very bloated feeling for just a little bit of time. If there's another transition, maybe... Oh, now I was talking through it. For the next one, try to listen if you can hear that. If there is another one. Well, off to the couch, I'm dying here. Have fun, y'all. Thank you for stopping by, Davey. Nice to see you stopping by as well. Great track. I really like the sound design. It was, from a sound design perspective, it was very well made. There's a lot of cool, interesting things that you're doing. There's a lot of different things that you're doing, which I'm definitely for. It never became boring. It never became like stale. What you often hear with a lot of sidetracks where it's this idea where there's never really a main lead and it's always jumping back and forth between sounds, is that you get bored of that after a certain while, because there tends to be the same kind of sound design through the whole thing. I felt like that was not really the case in here. So that is very well done. The thing that I didn't like about it is the mix and that one structure thing that I said, where in regards to the structure, what I've seen this year happening a little bit more now that I've gone to like 2 festivals again, is that you see when people are dancing to the music and they're really in it, that they can kind of predict when the drop is coming back based on the structure that is playing. In the sense that you can, like somebody's dancing, right? They're just like dancing like this, and then the fill happens, and then you see them kind of jumping back into the next part where like the actual drop is going to happen. And you kind of need to make sure that your structure lends itself well to that. Because what I think is really annoying is that if you're dancing, and I've heard this maybe once or twice at WoW Festival, is there the structure, you expect the structure to do one thing, and then so you prepare yourself for that, and then you jump into it, and for example, it doesn't happen, right? Something like a fake drop or something like that. That would be very, very annoying. So structure-wise, I would try to make sure that that one part that we talked about, where there was that like sub-bass thing that you were doing back in the break, which was also in the intro, make sure that that is like 4 bars long, and that it is written in a way that it indicates that it's like 4 bars long, and that the people can that they hear that, oh, here's where the drop is going to happen. Because I felt out of sync listening to that part of the track. There's your video right there doing the dad dance. Just dancing tutorial, yes. Well, not dancing, but one of the things that I want to see if I can do a tutorial, but some more content with is this. The flow star. I don't even know if all of you guys have seen me do this, but I did already post one short where I played with this thing. I think I need to move the camera up a bit. I'll full screen this. This is gonna be a mess, but I hope you guys can see this. This thing here. Do you guys know what a flow star is? I can do this. I've learned this. I got this on my birthday. Look. And I can actually do this in this room. I have enough space to do this. Can make some content out of that maybe. But that's for another time. There. Is this looking good? I'll do some videos on that, maybe. Anyway, there's no more patrons here. I did see your message. Can I send an old version with a different drop arrangement? Quality of the mix is not as good it was as an earlier version. You can make some pizza out of that. I could probably also spin a pizza now. Next time I'm at my parents', I'll actually ask them, because they have a pizza oven. I'll actually ask them if I can spin a pizza like that as well. I was when I was at WoW Festival, somebody did ask me for a pizza while I was playing with the thing, jokingly, of course, because it's like the same. I guess it's the same movement. I don't know. I think it might break easier because, of course, dough you can kind of punch through it, so it may actually break like that. Whereas this is just like a solid piece of cloth, so it's not going to like break in the middle or anything like that. So I don't know if it's the exact same, but I think the idea is going to be very similar in terms of how it actually works. You can send an older version. I'm not going to play the same track twice, one after the other, so even though you're a patron, I am then going to just put you in the queue normally, meaning that now we're going to go back and we're going to listen to all of the people that are in the queue. Michelle, I think your track, you are this person, right? You are Tannen Folletti. Isn't that the same person? I believe it is, right? This track, we wanted to listen to it, but it's no longer there. So if you want us to still listen to it, because this was posted after the last feedback stream. So we were initially going to start here. If you want to submit it, you can resubmit. And then once you do, you can, of course, skip the queue like we do with all of the patrons. But for now, we're just going to go back to Tayo here, new project in work. Here. Yes, okay. So if you want me to listen to that track, please send it over again so I can actually hear it. Or maybe a different track, of course. It has been like almost 3-4 weeks, so maybe you've been working on something else or an upgraded version, I don't know. Return to Earth vocal can be turned up a little bit. Also nice delay reverb from it would be cool, like a washout from there. Yeah, you killed the link, yes. This vocal shout reminds me a lot about a specific track. I cannot find it, but the track is somewhere in my Spotify playlist. the same kind of vocal shot vibe. I like the kick and bass, I like it a lot. It's also nice and clean looking. It is lacking a little bit of stereo information, and especially for something this progressive, it would be nice to have a little bit more of that. It could also, the bass line could also be a little bit more clicky if you want to. It could have a little bit more of a high frequency transient to it. I like the sound design, I like the structure up until this point. Right here I would remove some of like the vocal shout and the little bleep thing there. I think that is becoming boring for one. And two, I feel like the main lead isn't really coming through enough, it's not powerful enough. So it should be a bit more compressed, it should be a bit grittier, it should be a little bit louder. And removing a few of the elements will give you a bit more space for that element as well. That last drop feels too short. I think it's only 8 bars, I would turn that into 16. I like the morphing in here. I do feel like when you have the stutter there where it's playing 16 notes, you should probably follow that with the bass line. It feels like the bass line groove and the groove of the main idea isn't really working together. I don't know if you're trying to keep the same bass line throughout the whole thing. In that case, I would advise you to rewrite the melody of the lead that you have there. But I wouldn't do that because I really like the lead that you have there. I would just turn this into like a short second drop and have a bass line that works really well with the groove of that thing. And then, so how I would do that is right now you have, I believe, 8 bars. I would turn that into 16 bars for that second drop. Right, so you would have a 16 bar thing here. This would be kick and bass. This would be your fill. You can go 2 bars if you want. You can go 4 bars if you want. Although you have a very little space if you do that. So I would stick probably with 1 bar or 2 bars here. And then have another one. And then this is just your drop. So right now you have your first break and build up thing here. Right. So this is break slash build up ish thing. And then here I would immediately go back into a breakdown, and then you can go back into the third drop. So this would be the breakdown. This over here was the first drop, and then somewhere along the line, somewhere later, you go back into your third drop. You can have a different bass line in your second drop than the first and third drop. And what is interesting to do is have the first and third drop the same in terms of bass line, and then in between have a little bit more of a difference. You hear this all the time where the first and last drop of a sidetrance track is a rolling bass line, and then in the middle is something progressive. So that is a pretty easy way of getting that kind of structure out of it. But overall, I really like where this track is going. I think this is a very nice production, and I hope to see more of it when it's finished. I reposted the link, changed my name to Destiny 5 for now, sounds like an 80s boy band. Mauro Rafael, welcome as well. We'll check out your track then, because you are a patron, so you get you get to skip the queue. I think I said it before, right, with Simultra Music, because you have already played basically the same track. I guess we're going to wait for you in the queue. We've already played this track. This is just a different version of that same track, so we'll wait for this one in the queue. But we're going to move on to Tan and Folletti. Again, they're a Patreon, so they get permission, or they get to skip the queue basically. So that's what we're going to do. So this is The Fourth Dimension by Destiny 5. It does indeed sound like an 80s boy band.
Is special from the sense that it is the widest of the
These pads should be wider. The pads that are in the track here shouldn't be in the middle.
frequency.
It should be like wide, it should be big, probably. That's a very squished together kick and bass. There's basically a continuous sine wave throughout the whole thing. I don't think I like that. This definitely needs resampling, but it also needs a bit more just dynamics in general for the bass line. Remove the panning effect from the hats. The hats are part of the main groove, especially in here, in this context. They're the only groove that is really in there. So the hats should not be moving around because they're like a central element. It's already in the name. So I would have the element, the parts that are important for the groove should always be in the middle, always be in the center. A second thing that I hear you do is you're removing elements in different points.
The fourth dimension.
Here, this is very crazy. The crash 2 beats late kind of deal. It feels like the hats are constantly being panned slightly to the right. I don't know what's up with that. I like the combination of melodic elements and all of those kind of things. Here you have a double kick, so remove the bass line there. You don't need the bass line there because the kick is providing the sub bass there. In fact, if the bass line is there, they're going to clash. So you don't want that to happen.
The fourth dimension.
This is strange. There's reverb on the kick drum that is supposed to be like the start of the drop. This is very loud here. Bugs Funny, welcome. Apocalypse Musicala, welcome as well. Bendy Gerrig, I don't know if I said hi. If I didn't, welcome to the stream. I feel also the snare is being slightly panned to the right. It's like two of them are panned to the right and then one is panned in the center. like that. Or am I hearing things that aren't there?
It has such a broad range of subset realities and such a rich playing field that if there were only one thing to take away from this, it would be that the fourth dimension is entirely composed of subset realities.
Very nice vocal mix. I really like that. Sounds really cool. Snare definitely panned right. Okay. I'm not hearing things. That's nice. Or I am hearing things, but I'm hearing them correctly, I guess.
Of all the dimensions. So it can actually be broken up into the lower fourth dimension and the higher fourth dimension due to how many levels occupy this bandwidth of space and time, yet have vastly contradicting and defining characteristics. The fourth dimension.
I feel like the kick and bass should be playing up until there. The rest of the track is moving up until that point, so the kick and bass should probably move with that together up until that point, and then have the fourth dimension in the fill. So that's the point where the kick and bass pulls out. It gives you the gravitas of the vocal itself, and then we go back into the kick and bass, right? At this point, I'm starting to feel like this ARP element, as cool as it is, it has run its course. So it should have probably been removed a little bit earlier. This is really cool stuff. I like the sound design in here. I do feel like there's some things that aren't in sync. That was a good example of it. We saw that playing right after the kick as opposed to on top of the kick. I feel like there's another element that was like slightly out of sync. I don't know if I still hear it, but like one of the synths. That is always something to check for. I like the transgating effect, but you should probably have a fill announcing that effect because that used to be the main synth that you have.
All reside within the fourth dimension. The majority of our belief systems, especially
Thanks for the opportunity, Projector. Is it possible to send another track? Of course.
some level of the channels of the fourth.
I just got started with the stream.
They cannot go any higher than the fourth dimension because they are a subjective subset reality that does not accurately reflect the truth of our infinite and eternal nature.
Some random noise there that just suddenly stops. There, it is clear that you have great ideas for the track. It is also clear to me that you're still starting out production. So you're like, I would say you're one of the beginners that has the best ideas for the track, but you're still lacking a little bit in the execution of those ideas. And that is something that is completely normal. Right, everybody, there's nobody that has ever started doing something immediately and has started as an expert. We all start off as beginners, but at least I can say that you have the right ideas here. What you should probably focus on for your next production is trying to maintain a little bit more structure and being a little bit more precise in your way of working. The first one is referring to things just kind of randomly starting and stopping. I don't suggest everybody always writes a track like this, but I suggest you do it at least once in order to get an idea of what a proper structure sounds like. And that is, you start with an intro, and then you have another 16 bars where you have intro plus kick and bass, so a little bit of a build up. In here, what you'll probably find is that there's going to be, say, 1 or 2 bars of fill, right? So you have the kick and bass kind of low in there, low pass, and it's like slowly coming up, and it's rising. There's maybe a build up, maybe you have like an actual build up here with snares and crashes and all of that good stuff, and tons of different risers. And then you have your fill, and then you go into your drop, and there's going to be kick and bass here. Kick and bass starts to play, and then towards the end of those 16 bars, you're going to have another bar of fill. One of the things that is always important to keep in mind is that when I say you have a 16 bar section of kick and bass with a 1 bar fill, I mean you have not something like this, where this is theoretically 16 bars of kick and bass and then a fill of 1 bar. You're always going to stay within what you can see over here, these segments of 16 bars. So this will actually be 15 bars of kick and bass and then 1 fill. I always say 16 bar segments, right? Of the drop, 16 bar segments of the drop, 16 bar segments of kick and bass, whatever I say. But that includes the measure of the fill. So if you want a 2 bar fill here, you would cut that out of your actual kick and bass, as opposed to extending this like over here towards the end. And what I would suggest you do is continue writing your track in 16 bar segments. So like this, maybe say that you want to have 4 segments of your drop. Always have a fill here. Fills are important, more important than the stuff that's happening over here, because they reset the listener. They allow the listener to say that the listener walks onto the dance floor while this track is playing and the track is playing over here. The listener will be slightly out of sync with the track. They don't entirely know where the track is going to be. At this moment in time, at this point, if you're ever lost in the dance, this is where you can retake the dance, and this is where you can resynchronize with the track that is playing, right? That is very, very important. At this point, there's probably going to be some kind of breakdown, like this is 3 minutes. So let's say that we have a 16 bar breakdown over here. You can even say that the breakdown might be 16 bars where we have the first 8 bars be a regular breakdown. Here we have a little bit of a build up, and then again we go into a fill here, just for that, like that. And then you have your second drop, say that this is 4 segments, and then you go maybe into a longer breakdown over here, right? So we'll do the same thing, breakdown, build up here. Let's say that this is a build up that has 4 bars of fill. Again, build up is this. You get something like that. And then we'll have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 in here. That may become a little bit too long. So you might want to say, oh, I want to delete one over here so that my track doesn't become too long. And then I want this last thing to be an outro here. And I want this to be the fade out, where all of the delays fade out and whatnot. A structure like this, if you can stick to a structure like this very standardized structure, if you can write something like this, you can compare it to the track that you have now, and you can realize like how clear the structure is from a track like this. One of the things that you need to do if you're writing like this is say that you have favorite drums. Let me quickly get a kick drum, and we say this is okay. This is the kick drum, right? Duplicate that over, duplicate it over like this. If this is your fill and you want to add, I don't know, a loop to it, another loop to it, don't do stuff like this, where the loop kind of stops here and this other loop stops here, something like that. Always extend this stuff in the same way up until the end of the segment. One of the things I would recommend, which often sounds a lot better, is finalizing your drop segment with a final kick. So this is the kind of closing kick that kind of indicates that this is the final fill. It sounds a little bit more natural than ending on the bass note, I would say. So this would be where the final rolling bass note would be. Having a final kick kind of closing that out would make it usually sound nicer. And then when it comes to, of course, when it comes to structures like this, you wouldn't have your drum loop in the first segment. But you always want to do stuff like this, where anytime you have main drums and main elements and even main changes like that trance gate that you turned on one of those leads halfway through, always start and stop those things within a section. Like one section has one amount of drums, another section has another amount of drums, right? And that is the same throughout the whole section. There's never really a moment where you say it like, oh, I want this, for example. Of course, you can do that, but you need to do that in a more controlled and structured way. And in order to learn that, it is a good idea to start writing very boring tracks like this first. Structure is very challenging. I think I did do a video on this idea recently, on the thing that I'm currently explaining. Right? Yes. Yes. Get shareable link. This video over here explains basically the thing that I explained now, how to... it talks about in the beginning the standard structure and how you would lay that out. And I think it also covers the idea that you always want things to start and stop at fills, because that is essentially what I said here. Within the section you want everything to be constant, therefore changes happen in the fill. And that is what the fill is used for. It is the indication of change within the track. Right? This is also where you would, I don't know, stop a lead playing here and then another lead would start over here. So the fill is really the point where the change happens and where we go from maybe one groove into another, maybe one set of drums into other set of drums, different levels of energy for your track. The 3 levels of energy is something I think I also cover in that tutorial. If not, there's also another tutorial that I can recommend about arrangement, which is this one. This is my arrangement guide, so this one is a little bit longer, but it covers everything in a lot more detail, and it actually explains basically all the things that I do arrangement-wise. So once you get this down, once you get that standardized way of working down, you can then start to experiment with more interesting ideas in terms of structure, which would, I guess, still make sense within the actual structure, because you're doing cool stuff with the structure, but the cool things that you're doing don't really fit with the structure that you're trying to get. And that is the problem here. It's not the problem that you're trying to do cool things in general. It's that the way that you're trying to do them doesn't really fit with the musical idea and its structure that you're trying to achieve. It doesn't really feel natural when you're dancing to it for the hat that, say that you're bouncing down to the kick and then you're bouncing up to the offbeat hat, for that hat to suddenly stop halfway through the section while you're still dancing to that hat, to just take an example. So those are the things that you want to look out for when it comes to structuring your track. And I think that is the big thing that you can improve. The other thing that I wanted to talk about is preciseness, and that mostly has to do with your kick and bass. Your kick and bass sounded fairly flat, it lacked a lot of dynamics, and it wasn't cleaned. So you would need to resample your bass line to start off. But what I would also recommend is, first of all, take that one harmonic, that the lowest frequency that we had, that zooming frequency, and turn that down by quite a bit. It felt like the track was a little bit too focused around that one frequency. It was like kind of like zooming into it, and when you play that on a big system, that is going to really overpower the track. So that is something to look out for. And secondly, the bass line could be a bit more dynamic. So even if you lower that one frequency and don't have that zooming effect through it, it can be that the bass line amplitude towards the end of the note kind of slopes down already before it, and then the next bass note plays, as opposed to it just being flat in terms of volume. I used Omnisphere for the bass. Oh. Okay. Well, that doesn't really matter, because the synth that you use, I mean, it does matter in terms of the actual tonality and sound that you're going to get, also together with the processing and whatnot. Whatever you do is going to matter, but ultimately, the end of the kick and bass creation process is both for the kick and the bass going to have a stage of resampling, where you commit your kick to audio and where you commit your bass line to audio, and then you kind of clean up all of the stuff that you're doing afterwards. I don't know of removing first harmonic in Serum. I mean, you can just take your bass line. Like, it's not illegal to go onto your bass line and just do this, right? Say that this is the bass line. I just go in here and say I want an EQ. And the frequency that I was talking about was just under 100 Hertz. You can just go like this. Or a bit more, whatever the bass line needs. The problem is, this is going to introduce a phase shift, and that is what we saw in your bass line, your kick and bass as well. There's some processing in there that is introducing a phase shift that makes it so that some of those frequencies are delayed, and therefore it became really flat. And that suggests that there wasn't a step of resampling behind it. You can EQ your kick and bass however you want. If you want your kick and bass to have this EQ curve on it, that is okay, right? This phase shift can still be remedied by resampling, cutting out the end of it, and then arranging your track with the resampled bassline instead. It's just one of the things that people then tend to do is that they have their stuff resampled. They're like, oh, it is resampled, I can keep it clean, and then they start adding EQs or filters or processing like this that is introducing a lot of phase shift. That can be a real problem, because that people think they're safe because, oh, I'm working in audio, what can go wrong, right? But then they start doing things that could actually mess it up, and then they don't check anymore. It is always the ending stage of the kick and bass creation process where you check these kind of things. And in your case, you can use something like, even very simple, if you want to get very, very simple, you can just go size scope on the master. So you're sure that this is the size scope is the last thing in the chain, right? Size scope, it's on the master. All of my mastering is before it. You can just have a size scope here, and you just check your kick and bass if your kick and bass is actually looking nicely compartmentalized, I guess is the right word for it. In that the kick takes up this spot over here, it goes down in volume here, and then the bass line takes this spot over here and it goes down in volume, and then the bass line takes this spot and it goes down in volume. And here you're going to see some of the summing between that first bass note that should be a little bit lower in volume and the kick drum, right? So that you get the groove. You don't get the kick drum having this kind of volume over here, and then suddenly when the bass starts to play, it goes up like that, and then it slows down. You want your kick and bass to kind of sum so that they together kind of have one continuous waveform that usually looks like transient, goes down, goes back up again, and then it slowly starts to come down over here, or maybe a bit less curved than that, comes down like that. That is generally the shape that you want to go for. Holy moly. Oh, I got scared a little bit, but Simultra Music, the chat that you're writing in, this chat over here, is not the right chat for this kind of stuff. This is just for submissions. There's a YouTube chat where you can write, and there I can actually see this. I got really scared because I saw it like plus 12 new messages. I was like, do I need to listen to all of those tracks? I'm not going to have enough time. I do want to count how many tracks there are for me to listen to, because there are a few more than usual. We've listened to this one. We have listened to this one. We've listened to the new version of that. So now we're here. 1, we've listened to this one already. 2, 3, 4, we've heard this one. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, this we'll listen to as well. 10, 11, 12, 13 more tracks. And I have been streaming, now I'm 40 minutes. I can listen to a few more tracks before the break. And then we should still be good in terms of, it's not too many tracks. But you are, Simultra, you are scaring me with the chatting here. Please refrain from discussing in here. I think it also says that somewhere. Yeah, if you want to like type something to me, even this stuff, if you want to type something to me, it's much better to do that in the YouTube chat, because that is where everybody's typing, and then I just have them one nice list. And I don't get scared by the amount of messages that there are. Either way, we have Vedas here with kick sampling 1213. I think they talked about this to me privately, but I don't remember what they said, and this was submitted a bit ago. It is indeed resampled, but this final oscillation over here isn't really necessary. You can fade out your bassline over here if you want to. And as you can see, the first bassline is a little bit loud. It can be a little bit quieter if you want to. I also see something strange happening here to the kick that I wouldn't expect if this was actually resampled. Like it being pushed down over here is a bit strange. Maybe you have to actually resample the kick as well. Maybe the kick itself has some issues there. And it's not the bass kind of bleeding into the kick drum. But here, Michelle, you should be able to see the waveform that I described as well. At least a little bit, right? The kick, bass, and bass here. I like this. Nice gritty sound here. I guess FM synth here. I felt like that riser that set in that last segment was too long. Spend a lot of time already in the higher frequencies, in the higher energies, and it doesn't really feel like yeah, in this case again it feels a little bit too long. It also maybe feels a little bit too prominent, a little bit too loud. I was gonna say, it sounds like this has some kind of feedback loop in there, but it seems that this is the melody. Could be cool if the melody has a little bit more distinct note information. You can get some more higher frequencies in there, some higher harmonics. But yeah, that sounds good. I like it. I like it as an idea. I'll move on to the next one here. It still needs some mixing, but this is general idea. Thanks in advance. This is Legend of the Celtics Preview 27.FLAC. That's coming up now. Nice strong intro, although I would take this off and put it a little bit later so that it's maybe 2 beats behind the piano, so that first melody resolves nicely for the piano. I don't like how this note, this frequency that sits with the melody. I like the ideas that we're getting here. I think the kick feels a little bit too sharp. I hear this a lot where there's a lot of stuff happening in the kick above 10,000 hertz. I would try to low pass the kick around 10,000 hertz so that the hats and whatnot can have a little bit more space there and it's not as strongly clicky, I guess. This track also feels a little bit too squashed. Again, turn down the limiter a little bit on it. it feels like you mastered this section here. You used this section to listen to, and then you went into the more busier sections, and there it started to break down and start to be a little bit too squashed. A little bit empty this. I think it's strange that this doesn't really have an actual bass to it. To me, I really like the idea that you're trying to portray here. I think it's just a little bit too extreme between the high energy and the low energy that we just heard. It sounds really powerful, it's really well produced. I just think it's a little bit, maybe too much, the differences in energy that you're jumping between. Because there were some spots where it's like completely empty, right? In the middle, there was really not much going on, and then we go up to an energy level that I wasn't really expecting there. So that caught me off guard a little bit. But overall, production-wise, it is really, really well done. Like the technicalities of the track is really well done. I think the last part was a little bit too squashed, but that is kind of what you want there. And as I said, I'm a little bit surprised that there was no like offbeat bass line there. I would probably go with like a hardstyle reverse bass at that point, as opposed to like an actual psytrance bass, because that seems to be the vibe that you're going for there. But generally speaking, that kind of style does have a bass line there. Yeah, well done. I don't know too much about mixing. You may remember it. I think I remember the name, but not the track, if that makes sense. I remember seeing something like this as a title a long time ago. Keep in mind, it's been almost a month since the last feedback stream. So even if you did it or you posted it in the last feedback stream, that has been a month ago. Next up, we have enroll the wheel here with a core conjurer work in progress. Oh, I can play it here again. This is SoundCloud. I think what you do with your bass line is you play it an octave lower than you should, right? Because it's not like it's not working, but we don't see like a clean bass note in here, which is what you would normally expect. It does need to be resampled because this is still messed up, but this is still a work in progress, so that's okay. But you can see the oscillation takes so long that it's only 2 oscillations per bass note for the lowest frequency, and I think the idea is that you get a deeper, warmer bass sound by deliberately playing it technically in octave too low and just kind of removing the lowest harmonic from it and using the I guess first overtone as your sub bass. That's what's happening here, right? Because I've heard this before. I've heard this also on when it was nighttime at WoW Festival, where things tend to get a little bit more towards the dark side kind of stuff. You hear this from time to time as well. I like it. I like where this is going. I like the sound design. One of the things I would personally work a little bit more on is your stereo width for some of the different elements. Some of the synth sound really mono. Like there was one before where it was just a kick and bass playing and that one synth, and the synth itself was almost completely mono. So it makes the track sound very thin. Here a bit more of a change in the elements would be nice. We now have that element sitting in the background here, and it just repeats every time. So maybe changing that up a little bit more would be a good idea. I have now been streaming for 1.5 hours, seeing as there's very few tracks remaining. Or not very few, but there's not that many tracks remaining. I think I can take a break right now. The way that I'm going to do that is, I'll leave this here so that I know where I left off. I am going to play the mix, the last mix. The mixes over on Eclipse aren't really performing well. And in general, the page over on Eclipse isn't really performing as well as it was in the beginning. As you can see, the beginning, we got like pretty good views. You can see here, 13K, that's really nice. This first mix got 28K, that is amazing. Of course, we would love to keep getting these kind of views here, where we just get a decent amount of views per video. But you can see, if we just look at basically everything from this point here has been not really getting to the height where we want it to be. Even this mix, I am not happy with 4.5K. It sounds like a lot, but this was like a special, so I was hoping that this would outperform the stuff that we were doing here and here, and instead it didn't do that. So I wish everybody that hasn't done that yet would subscribe here. Of course, you can turn on all notifications as well in order to get notified whenever Eclipse posts something, be that one of my mixes or a new track here. We are still working a lot on improving things and getting things off the ground even more. So hopefully also the rate of upload is going to increase, so that might help as well. But in general, just help us out. And for now, I'm going to just play this track over here. This is the track that I'm going to play right now is the Mind B track that came out after the mix. So that's Colors over here. It's a really nice track. So I'll give you guys something to look at and listen to. I'll take a quick break. And then we'll be right back and we'll continue with Ben Di Gedig. Gedig. I still pronounce that as a Dutch word, but I don't know if that's actually how you pronounce it. I'm sorry, you guys know that I mispronounce things. Either way, I'll be right back and see you guys in a bit.
Wow, okay, I'm also seeing incredible hexagonal, transforming, kaleidoscopic visuals. Wow, oh my goodness. Wow, now they're pink, bright pink and blue visuals. I have never experienced a visual like this. Experienced a visual like this. Experienced a visual like this. whites and reds and blues. And wow. I just went off. Holy shit, this is wild.
I'll just let this track finish and then we'll get back into the feedback. I do want to get myself a little bit more to drink. Hang on. There. Do you have these mixes on Spotify as well? The mixes themselves aren't on Spotify, but all of the tracks are. At least all of the released ones. There are, of course, with many mixes, there are unreleased things in here. This one is also written as an unreleased track, but it has since been released over on Eclipse. So the track that we just listened to is right over here, Colors. If you guys are interested in that, you can check that out. I'll drop the link in here. And then from here, from the videos, these videos, by the way, have their own visuals that look really nice as well. You can, of course, see Spotify and whatnot. They're also on many other streaming services. So even if the streaming service is not in the link or linked in the description, it should just be on there so you can search for the tracks and add them to your playlists. That would really help us. If you were to do that, you just rack up a few more plays for us. Would be nice. We can, at this point, use all of the help that we can get. We're looking more into like advertising and that kind of stuff, but just having the community watch our stuff is probably more effective than getting a few advertisements out there, at least in the long term, right? Just getting a community of people that listens to everything is more important than getting the occasional person that actually likes your stuff from some advertisement. So yeah, that's the most important thing for us right now is that we get more people just constantly listening to our music on the different platforms that it's available on. One question. Shoot ahead. Shoot ahead, is that how you say it? Shoot, I don't know. To play a DJ set, you only need to purchase the tracks, or do you need to negotiate with labels? You would need to negotiate with labels. You need a performance license, is what it's called. It's a copyright license that allows you to perform a track but not own it. The way that I understand it, there's two forms of licensing within copyright. You have a master license and then you have a performance license. So for example, if an orchestra plays a piece by a composer, then the composer holds the master license. He holds the license of saying, like, I actually own the track and I created this track and I can say who can play or not play the track. With many labels, it is actually the label that holds the master license as opposed to the artist itself. That is not something that we do, but many other labels do work that way. But for performing, we or any label can give out performance licenses, and most of the time it is as easy as saying just shooting them an email and telling them what you plan on doing with the track, and most of the time they'll just give you the okay immediately, and then you have written consent, and that is enough. That is basically the license. Once you have an email or a document, some labels have actual like licenses that they then send you, which clearly states what all of your rights are when you're playing the track. But even like an email with like written words that, okay, you can play this track in this session or in your DJ sets or whatever rights that they give you, that is enough to count as an actual license. We don't have, by the way, I don't think we have that on the label, but I think I have it in my first album. Let me just check this. If I go here, it may state that in the description. Maybe not. I remember, is it earlier music that has that? I remember writing a license agreement actually in the description of our music, in that it says you can actually use my music in live sets however you want, or something like that. Maybe it's earlier music that has that. I'll just quickly go through a couple to see where I can, or if that is actually the case. Not here. I remember writing something like that, but it doesn't seem to be in the description. Yeah, no, I've not done that. Oh, my camera just died. It is too warm for my camera, I guess. Some of my, or some people write it in the actual description, like you can use this for this purpose or that purpose, whatever you want. I don't know what happened there, why? It is very warm, my camera. I'll just leave it cooling off. It is getting warm in the studio as well. I've opened the door and I have the ventilator now currently blowing air outside to keep it a little bit cooler here, hopefully. What I want to do is get obviously like an air conditioning thing in here, because that is currently not in this room. Just want to get one of those small ones off of Amazon. I have already put it in my wish list. But yeah, that's something that I'll have to look into. That is, of course, one of the things that needs to be under control here. Not having air conditioning in a room like this in central Italy where it can get 40 degrees is not a good idea. But yeah, that's something I'll look into later. Using someone else's track in a DJ set is no different to just uploading it to YouTube. You should get a license. I would suggest checking out websites to get a proper understanding. Can post a link here, but search music copyright and read a reputable source. Yeah, exactly. Most labels will have some form of license that is either on their website or that they send you once you request it. And they can deny it. They can say like, no, we don't want you to play our music there or wherever, whatever. But most of the time, at least in Psytrance, I don't think it's that big of a deal. I don't think any label is really making that big of an issue of it, especially if you're performing in like a smaller club or something like that. Maybe if on a festival or big venue or something like that, they make a bigger deal out of that. But in general, it shouldn't be too much of an issue. Ben the Gerrig is the next person that we're going to listen to. Pretty much done with this track. Would appreciate any feedback on production, arrangement, sound design, etc. Okay, that's what we'll do. Fukalong is the track name. I don't know how to pronounce this. Fukalong, I guess. Let's hear it. I like it. I like the vibe that we're getting here. It's a Chinese word. Okay. Yeah, then I definitely mispronounced it. A DJ set could also be for YouTube, so yes. Any commercial use of music is treated the same way. Dragon of Hidden Treasures. Interesting. I like the slight psychedelic elements that you have in here, the particles and stuff like that. Honestly, not the bassline groove that I was expecting. It's not like it's not working for me, but I thought of a different groove when I pictured the bass line in my head. You can obviously not see it now that my camera turned off, but I am vibing to this track. I really like where you're going here. The mix is sounding really well done. Arrangement wise, it makes sense. I would probably turn this synth a little bit lower though, the synth that is now playing. And I would probably not have the particles in here anymore. Now that you're going for a little bit more melodic, it would be nice to have a contrast, as opposed to just continuously playing these elements over here. Yeah, here you can see we get some parts where I would really argue that it's too loud. You can see it in the waveform, right? Where the waveform just blooms up. Here. That's a moment where I guess it gets resonant in some way. Okay, so with these melodic elements, I guess I would do 3 things. I would lower the volume slightly, say 2 dB. I would compress them a bit more to maybe get rid of some of the dynamics a bit more. And then there's a few resonances that you would probably need to tackle separately with something like soothe or maybe an EQ if it's just in a specific frequency that is resonating. I think it's just this one frequency here that is really causing the issue. I don't think you would need to soothe that out. You can probably just EQ that out and that would be okay. But other than that, I don't really hear anything that I would say like is obviously wrong with this. Sounds like a nice groovy house track, which is exactly what you were going for, I think. You can even see it spiking over here, the resonance when it plays. What bass were you thinking before the bass came in? Just like a different groove to it, a groove that was a little bit more. Something like that, I guess. Something that works a little bit more with the elements that are already like present in the track, groove-wise. I'll let my camera cool off a little bit more. One more track, I guess. This is the one that we already listened to, and then oh yeah, okay. He removed, I think, I can check that even. I think you removed the one that we said we wanted to listen to, right? Did you? Oh yes, yes. Okay. I'll have to play around with different bass patterns. Thank you for the feedback. You're welcome. Okay, so then that means that the next track that we're going to listen to is this one over here. This looks strange because it's all messed up here. Like, it's clearly a link, it's still working, so we can get there, which is nice. But this is Rose TRZ Edits. Ginji. Yeah, okay, so unfortunately I have to skip this one. Zakatinho, I'm sorry, but do not submit works to which you do not fully own the copyright to. This means any remix, bootleg, or edit will not be played. So by this rule, I have to, unfortunately, not play your track. So that means that we're moving on to the next one. This is just the rule that I have in place to make sure that I keep the amount of copyright strikes on my channel to a minimum, even though they still happen all the time. For those that are wondering, I am currently just letting them happen and letting them through. people claim my stuff all the time based on these feedback streams by just releasing their music and not knowing how to do that properly and how to whitelist my channel whenever they have played their music on the feedback stream, and they then want to release it and they start claiming monetization and that kind of stuff. So I still get claimed all the time, but I want to keep that to a minimum, and therefore that rule is in place. So that means that I cannot play your track. Hello, here's the track. I think I already listened to you, but it evolved a bit. I have a question. Groove-wise, does the groove work? Is it hypnotic enough? Can it work? Track is half finished, I would say. Not mixed. There's too much sub. I'm not experimented with Squarebase. I think that means experienced with Squarebase, and it's temporarily mastered, hopefully not too squashed. We'll see. So this is Tribal Festival by Mind B. I do agree, it's a little bit too subby now. I like the groove that you get by combining the Squarebase itself with the element that's kind of like sliding into it. Maybe a bit too aggressive for the ID that you're going for here. Like the Squarebase, the way that it feels is that it's a little bit smoother. So maybe having a very strong, aggressive kind of drum fill like that is maybe a bit too much. I like this though, I like all of the little vocal details in there. It does really live up to the Tribal name. Here the atmosphere is getting a little bit too loud, I think. I would personally like to hear more of the melody. I think the melody should come through a little bit more, and specifically the higher frequencies of the sitar could definitely stand out a bit more, because I feel like the sitar is going to be the main element of this breakdown here, because that's the main like melody that is carrying everything. here I don't like the impact being so strong.
Dopamine system in the brain is associated with desire, love, and attachment. Love and attachment. Love and attachment. Love and attachment. Love and
Feels like the acid line, well, I really like what it's doing. It comes in a little bit too late. Like, it feels like it should be 4 bars of a pause as opposed to 2 like it is now. And then there should be like a clear distinction of going into the next drop, maybe with like a drum fill as opposed to going so quickly into the next bit here. Cool stuff though. I like that. I like that a lot. Sounds really nice. A little bit of a different idea than what I'm used to from you, but great stuff nonetheless. Next up, I am going to try to turn my camera on again. See if it has cooled off quite a bit, so I think it will be okay. Both the room itself, as well as the camera itself. So, hello? Yes. Let me quickly put myself back in. Am I in focus still? Can use the keyboard to the side to put myself in focus. There I am. Okay, next up we have learning project here with filler 214 BPM in G sharp. This is going to be interesting stuff. I always know that learning project makes very fast stuff, but even or 214 is even fast for him, I would say, because normally it's like 200. Kick and bass starting off rather wonky. I'm not sure I like the tonality of it. I don't think the low end is very controlled in the way that you're playing here. A bit more play with the kick and bass, a few more, I call them complexities, but not just having the kick and bass play the exact same way every time would be nice. Like every 4 bars having something like a reverse kick, little kick fill, stuff like that would be cool. Not a fan of this really big reverb clap thing here. I would probably go with just like a very short, simple snare. Arrangement-wise, for the synths, I like this a lot more than your earlier stuff that you were sending, where it was just bar after bar after bar. But I still feel like you're not exactly getting the high-tech vibe down in the way that stuff should be arranged. I think you need to listen a lot more to reference materials. I like this last part. This strange way that the snare was playing there, and the part before that as well. This is a bit wonky, playing the same rhythm over and over again with different synths. I don't think I like what you're doing here. Now I can actually see the length of your bass line. I think you resampled it for the normal part here, but you can see now nice offbeat bass here. I like these washing in ideas that you're using here. I do think, yeah, you did resample it, so that's nice. Overall, just don't really like the tonality that you're going for here. Yes, I don't want to copy from other artists, but maybe I should. You're not copying, you're taking inspiration. It's like a painter going to the museum to see how other people paint certain things, and then going home and taking some of the different techniques from different places and implementing that into one track. Baller, exclamation feedback should give you all of the information that you need. I feel to getting inspiration by just listening. Yeah, just listening is a way to get that inspiration. What I always recommend is listening to half an hour of music on your system every day, which is also something that I do. Here's a list of high-tech reference tracks that I used to use in the past. So if that's helpful, then you can listen to it. There's roughly 100 songs there, and you can just listen to a few before you get started with your studio session, and then you can hear the way that things are arranged a little bit better. I do like this idea though that you're doing here. I don't hear that a lot in other people's high-tech, but that is something that you could take and make your own, right? The like fading out non-timed delays kind of thing. That is something that you can implement every once in a while in different parts of the track, while for other parts of the tracks sticking to more traditional high-tech arrangements. It reminds me a lot of Tchaikovsky. Yeah, that's what he does as well, right? He does. It's more psy-core, which I guess this also is, maybe. I don't know. I don't really know the difference between psy-core and high-tech. I think high-tech maybe focuses more on the glitchy sound design, but I don't know if that's the only difference between them and what the real difference is. They sound very similar to me in terms of just the general characteristics of the genre. I can go through it. Honestly, the way that this worked is, or the way that I put this list together is I asked for a bunch of people to name their favorite artists, and then I just went through that list and played a bunch of, or added a bunch of different artists from what everybody liked. So, yeah, here there's even Tchaikovsky right in here. So I've classified them as high tech, but I don't know what they really are. Kashik here, Will-O-Wisp. Here there's some more. There's on the occasional, every once in a while, there's also just one random track from one random artist that I found. But here, Quantum Mechanica, Yahtzee, and K. Kopopobia. I'm pronouncing is not my best suit, but you can just go through the list and you'll see. It's basically for every artist that I found, there's like a bunch of different tracks from them, and then there's a bunch of different tracks from the next one, and a bunch of different tracks from the next one. And that's how I build up the list, essentially. Do you start out your tracks with a high tempo, or do you speed them up as you work on them? I would hope you just start with the tempo that you're planning on writing in. It makes a little less sense to do the other way around. There might be some cool techniques in there, but it seems like a bit of a hassle doing that, because anything that isn't warped is going to be out of sync once you change the volume, or the tempo, and anything that is warped is going to get more nasty artifacts as the tempo changes and the warping doesn't. Do you have a good playlist of Goa or Tribal? No. I have my main playlist. I'll go through my Spotify stuff. I have my main playlist here. I have a high-tech reference, and I have a dark side reference that isn't built out in any way. So I need to build this out a lot more. Slowly, as I'm going through some genres and stuff like that, I'll do more and more and more. And yeah, I'll very slowly build up references. I think I've mentioned this before. I want to do like a lifetime project almost, where I make an EP in every single subgenre of psytrance, just to learn from that. And I'm still working on the high-tech one, and I haven't worked on that in, I guess, now half a year-ish, I would say. Because I've just been busy doing other things. It's like the most back burner project that I have, right? It's not something that I'm currently like even actively working on. Anyway, next up we have pizza zonder schil. Dat is fijn. Ik hou ervan als mijn pizza geen schil heeft. Anyway, I'm co-producing this track with a friend. I usually don't make psytrance, but I definitely want to improve in this genre. Take this track with a grain of salt, as it is still early in the production phase. Will do. Pizza zonder schil by Espressivo. So he has an Italian name and a Dutch track title. It is playing, right? There we are, yes. This might be a very quiet track. I might need to boost this one. We'll see once the drop starts to play. starting to come in a bit. Kick and bass definitely needs cleaning. You can see a lot of bleeding happening into the kick transient, into the individual bass notes. So you would definitely need to resample your kick and bass. I'm going to turn up the volume a bit, or wait, I need to do it here. Yeah, now you can see how bad the bleeding is in here, into the next note, into this note as well. You're losing a lot of punch because of that. I've actually heard this effect on WoW Festival now a few times, where I just thought like, hey, this kick and bass, it doesn't feel like it's using the full range of power that it has available. So you can definitely notice when you're bleeding like that. Sound design wise, I do really like where this is going. I like the vibe that you're going for, nice and dark. I don't think this is the point where I would add a groovy segment already. Maybe just going back into the normal bassline here, I guess, I don't know. It doesn't feel like the right spot yet. I don't like the low sound that is in here clocking up the bassline. Basically anything below 150 Hz should be reserved probably for just the kick and bass around that area. You really don't want anything to clash with the hypnotizing effect of the lower frequencies of the bassline, and this stuff is going to be in the way, right? So you probably want to filter that out there. I don't know how much of the sound then remains, so I would almost argue maybe just remove the sound entirely, because it doesn't feel like there's much more to it in the frequencies above the stuff that I said to filter out. In the break you obviously can have it, it's a nice way to maybe I don't know. I don't even know how you would say that, but keep a longer rhythm in there by every once in a while just pumping a bit of bass through it in the breakdown. But I would never play that element on top of your kick and bass. Final thing that I would do once you fix your kick and bass by resampling is also turning up the kick by like 3 dB. You also have the issue of the bass note being louder at higher notes. This is something that you can combat directly inside of Serum. And I open Vital, which is not what I want. But say that you're making your bassline with Serum, then you have these note values over here. What you can do is you can find the area where it's just you set it just above the point where your root note plays, and then you set something like this so that all higher notes that play, you can link that to say that you have the compressor that isn't doing anything, so mix all the way down. You can just set it to the level over here, and you can say like, okay, for the higher notes, we just want the level to go down a little bit. Something like this. That should fix that, and you should get a more stable baseline, but you can also fix that once you're resampling, and then you can just manually turn down the notes that are too loud. You should always resample, for those that are wondering. There are very few occasions where you don't have to resample. One of those occasions is if you're using my presets and you're not processing them in any way, because my presets are made in such a way that they don't require resampling, and they technically don't require processing. A lot of people still like to process them, meaning that the core idea behind the baseline is a little bit lost. But I guess it's more important that you check what the kick and bass is doing, right? With SideScope, we saw that before. You can just even put SideScope on the master and that will work, but you can use SideScope also with the sidechain inputs, and then you have the kick here and the bass here, and then you can see the summing and you can see if that is all clean. But that is really, really important because, as I said, I noticed it having an effect on some tracks that were playing on WoW Festival, where some tracks just didn't come through with the amount of punch that other tracks did. And I'm almost certain that it's only because of the bleeding effect that is actually happening. Yo man, I was away and just came back and rewatched the part where you were reviewing my tracks. Thanks for your constructive criticism. You're welcome. We were just on your track, we were still discussing it. It sounded really nice. Pizza zonder schil. We played this one. There was one more person submitting for the Patreon, but they didn't want to use that. So we're just going to move on to Archon here by Digital Nerf. Sounds interesting, very distorted kick drum here. I also hear an Omnisphere preset. This thing. That breathing sound there. I'm still not sure if this is actually going to be Psytrance or if this is... I think it is, yes. I wonder what kick you're going to use then. Because if it's these kicks, these sound a little bit too wonky for Psytrance, I would say. Overall though, the vibe up until this point is sounding really nice. This atmosphere is definitely too loud though. It is technically clean, as in it's not really bleeding into next notes and next things. I think it's bleeding into bass notes. You can see the transient being pushed up here. I think that is because of this thing coming in and then pushing up the notes. So you would still need to resample. I think what you did is just LFO tool your bassline, which doesn't work between bass notes, but it does work on your kick drum. So you're going to get a clean kick, but your bass is still lacking a little bit of punch. I like the groove that you've set up though. I do think the bass, especially this stab over here, can be a little bit lower in volume. because this is currently the same loudness as the kick drum. Generally speaking, your bass is a little bit quieter because the kick drum is the most important element. That's the element that we actually dance to, and then the bass line kind of determines how we dance to the kick, right? It's the groove more as opposed to the actual main elements that we're trying to focus on. So in terms of hierarchy, you have the kick being the most important, and then the bass line is like right underneath it, and then synths and drums and all of that stuff are lower still. Yeah, I was away for like 10 minutes, so I missed when you started. Yeah, that's the cool thing about YouTube live streaming. You can just skip back. I am personally not really a fan of such long side chaining on elements when there's... It's not really like we're setting up a drop right now, right? It's not like we're already getting prepared for it. It's going to take a little while for the drop to actually get started, looking at the SoundCloud thing here. I like it, nice and weighty. Although maybe the sub is a little bit too loud. Can go a little bit lower. It's not really a problem yet, but if you're definitely pushing it towards the sub being too loud. Because the track can definitely be too weighty, where it just blows all of the frequencies that sit above, basically like this warm region, out of the water, and you don't really hear that on the... It wasn't an Omnitheer, I think it was Serum or Gladiator. Oh. Then why does it sound so familiar to me? I was gonna say I'll try to find it inside of Omnisphere, but that's not going to happen. Omnisphere has like 20,000 presets or something like that. Here a bit of a snare roll would probably would be better than just the loop itself. Because it's like rising with that synth. You can rise the synth all the way up until the point where the fill happens, and it can really build some like actual energy here. For this progressive of a psytrance track, I would also expect the bass line to have some stereo width to it. Right, M stereo spread on here. If you need a plugin for your stereoizing of the bass line, then this thing is gold. Of course, you guys aren't hearing the actual effect here, because this is not a track that we're listening to. But setting up this plugin, something like this, will of course take a track that is, or a bass line that is this wide, to something that is a little bit wider, and it won't affect the lower frequencies. And it really helps make your bass line sound better. It just does. Cool stuff. I like that. Sound was really nice. Sound design was really cool. There was a lot of stuff that you were doing, a lot of different grooves, so that was really nice. But I think I could give you some details on how to improve it, hopefully. Next up we have Apocalypse Musicale here with Murderous Power, which sounds like a threat. But I hope it isn't. Either way, let's have a listen. You have a click there. There's a lot of sounds that are really loud, like that impact, that this sweep up here. The drop just kind of starts, it doesn't have an impact, which I don't like. I also don't like the tonality of the kick drum. It is just this frequency here and then the low frequency. It doesn't seem like there's like anything in the middle between this sub part and this kick over here. So it doesn't really have a lot of punch. Overall, I feel like the track is again a little bit too squashed together, master-wise. Everything combined, the fact that the kick has no mid-range, the fact that this is also squashed together, that there's no dynamics whatsoever. This track should be really punchy, but it's just not. Here again, there's also no impact to the drop because it's just this volume going into the drop, this loud going into the drop, and then the drop is this loud and it's this loud and it's this loud, so there's no impact, there's no punch to it. also has a bit of a strange groove. That right slash crash slash app thing was doing some really strange groove stuff. I'm also not a fan of the fade out in the highest energy part. That doesn't sound good. It also means that the DJ doesn't really have the space to mix out this track. But overall there's bigger issues that this track has. As I said, it's lacking a lot of punch. The mix isn't the greatest. It feels maybe a little bit too full as well in terms of ideas, but there's just generally some tonal things that you're doing that don't really make sense, like the kick not having any mid-range. I also felt like the snare was really wonky sounding, and everything is just squashed together way too much. It does sound a little bit industrial. I would keep the style of it that you're doing and that kind of thing, but you can just execute this style a lot better, in my opinion. Michael Diaz, how are you doing? Welcome, welcome. We are going to listen to your track, of course. But first, we're going to listen to Baldur, also known as Bugs Funny, who is also here in the chat with Test Tune. For anybody wondering, this track over here. You guys can go into the channel as well and follow any people that you like the music of. Didn't expect this groovy, uplifting kind of bassline idea here. I was expecting more of a dark side bass. Sounds like a progressive kick and bass with dark side elements on top. Even here. I do like to see that it's nice and clean. I like that. I just think that there's a tonal mismatch between the elements that you're playing and the kick and bass that you're playing. It is getting a little bit better now, but it still feels like this should be a dark side kick and bass. It's not finished yet. I would imagine, yeah. Or I don't know why I would imagine that, but maybe you are still working on it. I don't know why I said I would imagine. That's not true. It doesn't sound unfinished. That's cool. I like that. I like that a lot. The little plug thingies. See you, Ben. Thank you for stopping by. Hope you enjoyed. Nice, diverse sound design up until this point. I like it. maybe go immediately into this baseline idea over here though, and put the vocal in the fill. There you have a lot more space. And then here you transition again back into the rolling bass line, so that will work. Frog. I think here you have some clicks. I can see like here where it just kind of clicks down. Seems to have some issues with the modulation. Maybe that is something that you want to look at. Right now that this thing is paused, it in my head looks like it's moving slightly to the right. Funnily enough, because I'm so used to it just continuously moving to the left that my eyes are almost always scanning it to the left, and when it's moving, or when it's not moving, it looks like it's going the other direction. Your camera and soft projector, yes, it is too warm in my studio, so it's just turned off again. I am still looking to get airco in here at some point, and then it should be better. For now, that does mean that I can take off my t-shirt, which is really nice, because I'm personally also overheating. But yeah, I'm not going to turn the camera back on. We tried it once. It's not holding up, so that's unfortunate. We have 1, 2, 3 more productions here. How long has it been? How long have I been streaming now? I think I'll take another break, mainly because I want to go to the toilet. Let me quickly get the thing back. The mix here, so that I can play. What track do I want to play? I'll play the first one. My upcoming collab with Mind B, which is really popular. A lot of people like it, but it's still unreleased. Show your biceps. They're not really there. I need to start working out. I do have in my, and I'll tell you why this is. In my Amazon wish list, I have roller skates, because there's a roller skating park in Cremona here that I want to go to, and my parents have challenged me to this winter go with them to the Weissensee, which is where a whole bunch of Dutch people come to go ice skating, and we're going to do a 100-kilometer ice skating tour. So obviously I would have to train for that. So that is something that I'm going to be doing. Yeah, I need to start actually working out a lot more, but I'm such a workaholic that I tend to put those kind of things off. But now I've been challenged, and it actually means that I would actually need to put in the work, because otherwise I would just die. I would not get to the finish line, and that would not be what I want to do. Either way, I'm taking a quick break, and I'll let you listen to this track over here. Let me put it nice, high quality. You guys can, of course, again, subscribe to Eclipse to help us out. I'll quickly drop the link in the chat for you guys. Subscribe, do all of that good stuff, because that really helps us out. And yeah, we need just more views on mixes like this. Either way, I'll be right back, and then we'll continue with the last few tracks that I hear. Of course, you guys can still submit if you want to. And I'll just continue listening to it until I decide no more. Anyway, hope you enjoy the track.
Testing the system.
So, let us dream big. Let us dream big. Let us dream big. Let us dream big.
Holy crap, that sounds like cozy family time. It will be. Yes. Hello, Wesley. How are you doing? Welcome to the stream. It's actually really nice streaming without the shirt on. I could technically, to make it look better, do this. We're done with this. I can leave that. We're going back into the feedback. I do need to remember now that my camera is up for the next time that I stream. Yeah, it's not going to be. It's not great that the camera is still turning off. Obviously, the camera overheating is probably not a good thing for it. But I hope to fix that soon once I get all of the stuff that I need to buy in here. I still have to make a bunch of other payments first. Of course, the first payment for the apartment and finishing off the other contracts for the old apartment and that kind of stuff. And then I can see, then I can buy the things that I need here to like actually be comfortable, including the air conditioning that can hopefully fight the heat that my PC is putting out. Because it is, my PC is really good at warming up the room that I'm in. That was happening with the old apartment, but with this one there's no difference. It's also heating up the room extremely. Either way, let's continue on. How many more tracks do we have here? 1, 2, 3, 4. And I've been streaming for like 3 hours now, so I think I'll call it there after these 4. So I'm closing the queue here, and then we're just going to listen to these 4 tracks, and then I'll finish the stream there for today. Meaning that the next one that we're going to listen to is Apocalypse Musicale with Haughtiness. I don't know what that means. You probably know English more than me, because I don't know if that's a word, but it probably is if you use it as a title. Anyway, this is the track. Let's have a listen. There's a lot happening in here as well. I feel like there's melodies going through each other. Still don't like the kick drum that you're using. At least this track is a little bit more empty. I like this part here. Melody wise and structure wise, the amount of things that you're doing, it doesn't sound too full. I would still say that it's maybe a bit heavy on the sub and a bit squashed together all. I think you can even see the kick drum starting to distort slightly in here. Definitely something that you don't want. Yeah, here there's already too many things happening through each other. It's not really like a clear musical idea. Bassline is sounding strangely high here. Are you? You're playing the bassline an octave higher and then adding a sub to it. Why not just use this harmonic as the sub, playing it an octave lower, so that your bassline is just doing everything and you don't have to add a sub to it that way. Bassline just stops playing in the middle of the track. now the kick stops playing in the middle of the track. You're doing a lot of strange things. Also, like rhythm-wise, there's things happening here that don't really contribute to the overall rhythm of the track. I also don't think everything is in key. Some sounds slightly out of tune to me. I'm not the best in music theory, so don't take my word for that. Or take that with like a grain of salt, or however you say it, but not everything sounds like harmonious together, I would say. That's the best way to describe it. Here again, I like this segment, because this is a nice amount of elements. It's not too busy, there's not too much stuff happening. I also think you have reverb on almost everything except the kick and bass, but like even the clap has a big reverb on it, the hat has a big reverb on it, and you're really muddying up your track with a lot of reverb. There's also seems to be like a low frequency rumble here, which you obviously don't want. I don't know if I like the bass, but it's a taste. Yeah, I don't like it either. Overall, I think you need to listen to a lot more reference material. I think you're still in the beginning, especially for beginners. I often say like the most important part is that you listen to a lot of what other people do, so that you're tuning your ears to get you to a point where you're making the music that you want to make. Does that make sense? Because right now it doesn't feel like a harmonious track altogether. Here we have another remix. Unfortunately, Simultra music, I'm not making exceptions to this rule over here. I know you can put it out fine, but I just don't want the copyright issues that happen with that. I didn't see that it was a remix before, but it clearly states that here. So why is this so far behind? Sorry, I'm getting distracted by my stream preview, just being an hour behind for some reason over on my YouTube. But yeah, that means that I'm not playing this track over here because it is a remix and those go against the rules. So we're moving on to Mike Dos Mikes, Miguel Diaz, or Septical Doubt by Mike D. Okay. So now we have a Mind B and a Mike D in the Discord. Okay. It's gonna be interesting. I have to play it through here. Why is there no preview thing? It doesn't really matter. I just have to make sure that I turn it off when the song is finished. I like the vocal mix, even though it's like that messed up. It is still clear mix-wise. That is very important for vocals, that they come through the mix and you can hear what the vocal is actually doing. wasn't expecting this kind of kick and bass here. What I would also do is remove that downlifter. The downlifter in the first drop doesn't really need the downlifter because it has impact in and of itself. Kick and bass is decently clean. You seem to be bleeding slightly into the kick drum here, like the kick drum is slightly pointing up there, but overall it's looking clean enough, I would say. Like, this isn't to the territory where it becomes a problem, but you might want to fix that if you want a little bit more punch out of it. It's not going to do much for you, punch wise. I can turn this up, by the way. Sound design wise, I hope that we would have gotten a different element in here. In this segment, as opposed to the last segment. I think I would remove these stabs here, these bleep thingies in the breakdown. It's okay to change the key like this. It's not very standard for psytrance. I would personally probably just play the root note. It's not wrong, it just sounds a little bit strange for somebody that has listened to a lot of psytrance, where this basically never happens inside of psytrance. We don't really do melodies like this, we don't really do key changes like this. The whole idea is to create a trance in the listener, and by changing key you're not really achieving that idea. Again, the downlifter really isn't needed here. I also think it's a little bit on the loud side, and I think it's a little bit long. Not really any lower frequencies in here to balance again, so this is... It feels a little bit off balance, the break here. The hi-hats are a little bit crunchy. I don't mind the hi-hats. They're not really bothering me. Yeah, no, nothing else to say about that. It's a bit strange that there's a hi-hat there. So if you really want an opinion on the hi-hats, there you go. Strange crash in the middle as well. Doesn't really... Crash wasn't really doing anything. I like that. I do think this last part is sounding a little bit off, where you have a nice flow going into a kick drum and then there's a few more kicks and then it starts to play. I would flow directly into the drop there, as opposed to having another small kick fill there. It has indeed been a while. This shoe, no, I'm really sorry. It has been almost a month since I last streamed, but I've moved to a different apartment. Currently the camera is turned off because it overheated, but if you go back earlier in the stream you'll be able to see my actual new studio. I am indeed hiding. I'm also not wearing a shirt right now because it is so warm in my studio. Air conditioning still has to arrive. So yeah. Yeah, I think you are, bleeding into the kick drum. It's not fully resampled here. For some reason, the bass line over here is more resampled than this one over here. This is like the opposite effect of LFO Tool. The bass line itself is perfectly fine, and then this one here is bleeding into the kick drum. It's the opposite of everything we saw before. Anyway, we're moving on to the last track here. And the projector, this track is in the first stage of production. I'm making it for a collab. Any thoughts and ideas about the arrangement and overall sound would be helpful. First experience of creating a psytrance track after a long break and creating a chill out album for a festival performance. Okay, so this is Endless Experience, Looking Through the Mind. This one seems to have a fairly long intro, which would be interesting. I got a 0.53 second block idea if I can share, if you won't mind. Sure, okay. I know the queue is close, but for 50 seconds we can still do one more track. Nice start, I like where this is going. Nice strong building up idea here. I like the lead line that is sitting in here. I would like that to kind of come out through the intro more, get stronger and stronger. Currently it's still a little bit too much in the background, that main like melodic idea here. Okay, this doesn't work. There were triplets in there. There is more triplets in there too. Combining triplets and a rolling bass like this doesn't work. I do like to see that you clean your kick and bass. That sounds really nice. But I don't think that the triplet idea right before a rolling bass line drop works. Especially if the melody is also not playing triplets. The melody that is on top of that. Sounds a bit strange. Over here, I would have loved to hear a different type of element. Maybe something going into the breakdown. I feel like you're maybe using elements a little bit too long throughout your track. My standard rule is 16 bars for main elements, for main ideas, for main melodic elements, for example, but also main synths, that kind of stuff. I like this. Love the vibe that you're going for here. The snare caught me off guard a little bit, but now it makes sense. I don't think I'm a fan of the constant use of melodies. I think having a melodic or a few melodic segments or a few melodic ideas in a track works, but just everything being a melody is not exactly what I would go for, let's say. So this is nice and refreshing, just nice strong stuff. Synths could be a little bit louder in this segment, but besides the technical details, I find this one very coherent. I agree. Like everything in the track works well with all of the other things. Is I guess what you would say with coherent. There's like a clear theme throughout it. I would just say that maybe you're leaning a little bit too much on the melodical side here. But then again, this is maybe like a little bit more of an old school Goa kind of vibe, and there it is a little bit more like that. So if that's the vibe that you're going for, then it's not like really wrong, it's just aesthetically not what I would do, I guess. I would remove the snare here from the outro, because it doesn't really feel like it needs to be there. Also the kick drums there don't really do anything for me. I would just fade that out over time. So yeah, we have one more track in here by DK here. This is just a little idea. I love this. Sounds really cool. I like the idea that you had there, where you had 3 bars of this FM synth and then it kind of like changed into a different synth for 1 bar. That sounded really cool there. Maybe you can do something with that throughout the whole segment instead of just for the first time. And while I have you here, I believe you should check either, let me check for you. You should check I think. Give me 2 seconds. Let me see if this is right. Should you check anything? Oh no. Never mind then. Sorry. Maybe later. Seems like the bass is a little bit louder than the kick. Is it? Oh. I'm not doing that right. Yes. Bass is too loud. Good catch. I didn't even catch that. I thought I wanted to message you about something, something private, but that's probably for later. I'm sorry if I'm confusing you there, but yeah. I cannot tell you what it's about now, because now I'm talking to you in public and, you know, some things need to stay private. But maybe later I'll explain it in DMs. What I wanted to ask. It's fine, okay. It's not too extreme, don't worry about it. It's just something that would maybe be interesting for you. I just need to talk to a few other people then before I can talk to you. Just to say it like that. Anyway, that's going to be the end of the stream. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I'm sorry the last part was without camera. That looks a little bit strange, but hopefully I can get that fixed. Probably not before the next stream, don't get your hopes up. And then maybe the next stream I'll just go without camera altogether. But yeah, that's going to be it for today. I hope you guys enjoyed it, as I said, and I hope to see you guys in the next one. Don't expect there to be many streams in between the feedback streams in September, because I am doing my 1 video a day thing for the month of September, Sound Design September, as it's called. So I'm going to be more busy than usual creating videos, because in general videos do better for the channel than live streams do, so I should probably focus a little bit more on videos anyway. But I just want to try out Sound Design September, what that does for me, and then from there we'll see what happens. Anyway, that's going to be it. I hope to see you guys in the next one, which is then again just going to be the feedback streams. And then from October I'll try to stream more production and that kind of stuff as well. So yeah, bye bye.